Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I'm Frank Hughes, the chairman of Skelmersdale United Football Club, and alongside me is my co-host and passionate press officer AJ the Jet. Not that being involved with the football club is a prerequisite for hosting a football podcast, but it certainly helps. We are ready to dive headfirst into the vibrant world of non-league football in the Northwest, and we might even take a moment to discuss some of the bigger headlines in the sport. We'll explore life in the Northwest counties, bring you interviews with well-known faces in the league, and analyse how local teams are performing while making bold predictions for their upcoming matches. Nothing is off the limits here. We'll be diving into all kinds of topics, including complicated refereeing decisions and regulations that often leave fans perplexed. We want to hear from you too. This is your show, so don't hesitate to reach out with topics you want us to tackle. Let's get this conversation started and enjoy every single moment. We are speaking frankly. Hello and welcome to the 20th episode of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and a warm welcome to my co-host AJ the Jet.
Hello Frank, hello everyone, thank you very, very much for tuning into the 20th episode today, and how great to be back after a couple of weeks away from the studio. Now, this week on the podcast we are going to be rounding up the Northwest counties with examinations on Bury and Lower Breck, Glossop and Kaine and Prestwich Hayes. We're going to look at the two-horse race in the Division 1 South between Winsford and Stafford, and we'll be looking at the other two-horse race in Division 1 North between Nelson and Atherton LR, with a winner-takes-all showdown potentially coming on Saturday. We're going to have a look at Bootle, we're going to check in with Marine, we're going to examine Main Road, and then we've got interviews lined up with Kaine Duncan, the prospective chairman of Main Road Football Club and the current co-chairman and owner of the newly formed Manchester Eclipse Football Club. So all of that is to come, but first,
yes,
the Round-Up.
The Northwest Counties Round-Up, and the title fight at the top is an interesting one, because we talked about these quick turnaround of games for Lower Breck playing on a Thursday and within 48 hours playing on a Saturday as well. It's absolutely, they had a backlog of games and they've caught up with Bury, and now they've gone into a really, really strong position. They're going toe-to-toe with them almost, apart from a 3-point gap between the two. There's not a great deal of difference in goal difference either, but both have had good wins away from home. On Saturday, Bury beat Pilks 2-0 and Lower Breck beat Stockport Town by the same result on the travels as well.
Yeah, they absolutely did. So I was able to see the highlights of the Pilks-Bury game, and Pilks, to be fair to them, did take Bury into half-time at 0-0. They set up with a very deep sitting defence, aiming to kind of smother the attack out of Bury, and they actually did reasonably well in that respect. They weren't able to fashion a whole heap of chances themselves, but their defensive effort was magnificent. In fact, the opening goal from Lewis Simon Byrne was a scruffy one, to say the least. It was scuffed from the corner of the 6-yard box at the near post, and took a wicked big deflection on its way in. And then in the 95th minute, Rustam Stepans got away down the left-hand side on a counter-attack when Pilks were clearly tiring, and was able to kind of finish with a bit of aplomb.
Where did you see this? On Match of the Day?
This was on YouTube. This one.
Right,
so Bury have a very dedicated YouTube channel with all of their highlights and interviews coming through that particular channel. So I was able to see it. It was really good, actually. It was good footage with a commentator on hand as well. He could do with a few lessons from me, but otherwise the footage was good.
Yeah, well, Well, listen, they might be looking at you. You never know. They might be listening to you.
Only if they pay me.
Only if they pay you.
Only if they pay me. Otherwise, I'm sticking around.
So are we sort of positively thinking now that it's definitely a two-horse race between the top two now there?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, I know Ramsbottom themselves have had a bit of a resurge in form.
Yeah,
they have. But that being said, they are now 4 points behind Lower Breck in second and 7 behind Bury, having played the same amount of games. They are projected to finish with 102 points, which would mean maximum points from their next 4 games, but Lower Breck and Bury are also projected for maximum points as well, which would mean, as it stands, Bury win the league and Lower Breck finish runners-up from Ramsbottom, with Padiham and West Didsbury and Chorlton taking the remaining playoff places.
but it is worth saying that Ramsbottom definitely qualified for the playoffs come what may, and also after beating Squires Gate, Padiham have also confirmed their place in the playoff finals later on in April.
This is absolutely correct, yeah. So the nearest challenges outside of the playoffs are Earlham on 70 points with 4 games to play. So assuming that they get their maximum of 82, that wouldn't be enough to surpass Padiham's 83 or Ramsbottom's 90. The only team that they can reasonably catch are West Didsbury and Chorlton, and they've got an awful lot of ground to make up if they're going to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking at the West Didsbury and Chorlton, and Earlham appear to be the only contenders for the last spot.
That's correct, yeah. West Didsbury and Chorlton are in sort of quite pole position, really, both in terms of their kind of current points gained, but also they are better off on the form table than Earlham. I know they lost.
They both lost, didn't
they? They both lost their last games, but on the whole, it appears that West Didsbury and Chorlton have the better run of form in terms of their upcoming games as well. West Didsbury and Chorlton do have Chadderton, which I think is arguably their hardest game to negotiate over the last 4, whereas Earlham have to travel to South Liverpool, who themselves aren't having a particularly wonderful run of it across the season, but are managing to pull points together here and there.
And a massive gate for Ramsbottom when they entertained West Didsbury and Chorlton. 540, a big crowd for them.
That's not bad at all, and it was at home. So West Didsbury and Chorlton, we know, have a bit of a cult following, if you like. You know, they regularly exceed 800 at their own ground attendance, and it's fair to say that they brought a lot with them to Ramsbottom. I mean, Ramsbottom's attendances tend to be around 250, 300, but it was a long old mooch from North Manchester to South Manchester. So for those West Didsbury and Chorlton fans, as Harvey Hayhurst grabbing the only goal after 21 minutes of play, and the defence performing a marvellous shutout to keep out Jordan Lazenbury and co.
And I always think that a good non-league gate is in excess of 300, so 540 is amazing. It's just dream gates, isn't it?
It's absolutely terrific, yeah. I mean, it was only really surpassed across the weekend by 3 different teams. So it's probably no surprise that Bury against Pilks was one of them, 886 there. And then also FC Isle of Man playing out a wonderful draw against South Liverpool to a crowd of 799. But do you know where the third highest attendance of the weekend came from?
In the North West Counties? The third highest.
After Bury and FC Isle of Man games, who do you think was the highest?
Well, tell me how many it was.
543.
543. In the North West Counties Premier?
Yeah. Yes.
Crikey, I don't know. Go on.
It was Padiham.
Padiham, crikey. Yeah.
Padiham managed a crowd of 543 in their home game against Squires Gate. So it wasn't even a local derby. No, it was Burnley meets Blackpool there, as Padiham beat Squires Gate by 3-1, although they had to come from behind to do it. Goals from Joel Brownhill, Joel Malia and Rio Wilson Hayes, securing the Storks a 3-1 win, and with it securing their place in the playoffs.
Well, it's nice to see a big game, because I think we've sort of gone back to Padiham over the course of the season and been a little bit of the sort of dark horses of the division, and I'm wondering why they weren't getting big enough gates. Maybe it was a flag day or whatever they had.
Possibly. I mean, Padiham in itself is not particularly an easy place to get to, and they do have local rivalries in the way of mainly Kaine, but also Bacup Borough are also out that way as well, and not to mention Burnley. I know are very high up there, but they are a good, easy team to be able to access. But no, what a wonderful turnout for Padiham there. Yeah.
So Bearscough got back to winning ways by beating Remica, because I think they lost 3-1 was it to Padiham during the week?
They certainly did, yeah. Like most teams, unfortunately, they fell to Padiham, which was the only blip on their recent really good run of form. But they got back to winning ways with a 2-1 win over Litherland Remica, who themselves have dropped off quite significantly in the last half a dozen games. The contest was secured at half-time by Harry Cannon Norrens' 45th minute goal in front of 140 fans, which is not a bad turnout, considering that's quite a local derby, if you like.
Yeah, and still third in the form table, with behind the two teams that are actually fighting for the title, so that's incredible.
That's a really good turnaround by Dave Dempsey. He'll be really happy with that. If we move down to Derbyshire, it was another defeat for Richard Brodie and his boys at Glossop, as they lost 5-2.
I haven't spoken to him, so I don't know. I don't know how he's. Well, I'll know how he feels, because I know what kind of character he is, and I'm pretty sure he'll be determined to halt that particular slump, which has seen them just accumulate 4 points out of the last 18, which have been available. He's
and 3 of those were secured in that last gasp victory against Charnock Richard that we attended a couple of weeks ago.
I was going to say, though, moving on to AFC Liverpool, I mean, I've spent a lot of the season saying it depends what AFC Liverpool team turn up, and they've probably gone largely underrated in terms of their prowess in the Premier Division. Phil Stafford's doing an absolutely amazing job. Don't forget they're on limited resources. If I'm led to believe one of the lowest, if not lowest, budgets in the league. He's managed to build a squad that's more than capable of holding. It's only they've scored a whopping 83 goals, but the Achilles heel is the fact that they've conceded exactly the same amount of goals. They win as many as they lose as well. 19 wins, 19 losses, and 6 draws. But yeah, I think AFC Liverpool and Phil Stafford are doing an amazing job.
It is quite astonishing when you think about it, as just to how good AFC Liverpool could be if they had a watertight defence behind them. I'm sure Phil Stafford is ruminating over that same thing on a daily, weekly basis. Yeah, his team are the second highest placed team in the division, with a poorer goal difference. The only team with a worse goal difference than they are in the top half are Abbey Hay, who have scored 79 but conceded 83 and are placed 9th right now. So AFC Liverpool coming up second there. The interesting thing to note as well is that 50% of AFC Liverpool's goals have been scored by two players. Elliot Taylor, who's scored 26 goals in the division, and Caleb Jones, who scored 2 at the weekend to bring his tally to 18 for the season. So between those, you have printed out.
It's there somewhere against the paperwork there. It's the goals scoring charts, which keep us fully abreast there. You're dead right. Elliot Taylor has scored 26 in total in all competitions. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's put him 5th on the charts. For AFC Liverpool. And as I was saying, Caleb Jones has scored 18 goals through the season for AFC Liverpool as well. So
you imagine with a bigger budget, they'd be able to afford a decent defence, and they'd probably be in the playoffs because they're not that far away.
Well, no, they're in 11th, and if you take away a lot of those losses in their loss chart, and they are, by far and away the team with the most defeats in the top half of the table, which shows just how used they are to either winning or losing. In fact, nobody has drawn a game less often than AFC Liverpool. So it tells you an awful lot in that respect. But keeping hold of Jones and Taylor must be absolute at the forefront of Stafford's mind. But then after that, it has to be in shoring up his defence. If they can do that, they will kick on really well.
And shows like this advertising their exploits certainly won't help in terms of retaining those two players. But listen, at the bottom end of the table, it's any 3 out of the 5 the drop. Squiersgate are bottom on 40 points, and it was said before they lost to Padiham 3-1. And looking at the remaining fixtures, it's really hard to see getting enough points now to keep them up.
Quite, so they're only on 28. They are projected to have 40 points if they win all their remaining games. So it is a little bit tight. They are only 2 points away though from overhauling Kaine in 23rd and Prestwich Hayes in 22nd, both of whom have got 30. And then there is a bit of a climb to Pilks, who are on 34 there. So looking at that and taking into account the run of form that each team is on, Kaine have experienced quite a damaging drop in the last handful of games. 3 straight losses without reply, unfortunately. Whereas Pilks are going through a little bit of a topsy-turvy time. Squiersgate, much the same. Lose a few games, but then grab a win or a draw from somewhere. As for Prestwich Hayes, though, they're pulling it together just a little bit. They won their last game against Kaine. And then before that had managed draws in 3 out of the last 5 games. And each point at this stage of the season, when you're fighting in that kind of relegation battle, absolutely vital. So
listen, apologies to Squiersgate there, because I had you on 40 points, which meant I'd got you out of the relegation zone there. But the tables have changed now. When you download them from the Northwest Counties, they've got the
projected points.
The projected points rather than they. So I'm looking at the wrong column, but listen, it's pretty much tight. At that bottom
enormously.
End of the
it could
table.
Be any 2 of the 4 teams that we've mentioned there. We think South Liverpool are probably safe enough, but again, just lose a couple of games and they could be sucked right back into that mire. But it could be any 2 from Squiersgate, Kaine, Prestwich Hayes and Pilks. Now, who is it looking for you, Frank? I'd like a prediction from your head and a prediction from your heart. Who's going down?
Who's going down? I think they've dodged a few bullets, haven't they, over the last few. I think it's going to be Kaine and Squiersgate. I think they've dodged it year in, year out. I think you run out of luck in the end, don't you?
Those 2 teams, Kaine and Squiersgate, they've both been in the mire the last few seasons. And their time's coming. I think
Prestwich are doing enough now. I think Pilks will be okay. I think South Liverpool, they can pull in enough points if they need to. I don't think there's going to be many points won or lost in that sort of bottom 5 teams. I think Litherland, as I said, they're pretty safe, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah. Third. Well, no. In fact, mathematically, they are safe. It's between Prestwich Hayes and Kaine. Even if they won all their games, they could only get to 42 points. With Litherland Remica on 43 right now, so they are safe. So it is between sort of South Liverpool, Pilks, Prestwich Hayes, Kaine, and Squires Gate.
So who you were thinking?
For me, Squires Gate, absolutely. I think my heart says Prestwich Hayes to go down. My head says Kaine. I'd like Kaine to stay up because they've made such an effort to battle back from where they were before Christmas. And we said, when we were looking at this, thinking, Kaine are done. But then they've had a wonderful turnaround. And we thought that they might just get out of there. And they still could, but losing these last 3 games will not have helped.
So listen, you put me on the spot, I'm going to put you on the spot now. In terms of winning that division now, 4 games to go, who do you predict are going to do enough?
Bury. They have 4 games and they left, and they need to slip up in 2 of them for Lower Breck to overhaul them. And I don't think it is going to be enough. I really think that that Lower Breck Bury game, which ended 3-2 to Bury, was the real turning point for them, coupled with Ramsbottom's kind of fall from momentum, which we thought might happen. I don't think we anticipated Lower Breck to be nearly as close to Bury as what they were. But I think Bury have got just enough to see them over the line. All they need to do is win their last 4 games. That is it.
But I think we'll come to a better conclusion in the final part of the show when we make our predictions. So listen, we'll move on to the roundup in Division 1 South. A 2-horse race at the bottom between Winsford and Stafford, but Winsford have an 8-point advantage. So I can't see them losing a grip now. But Winsford did themselves Winsford did the business over Market Drayton, winning 2-1, but Stafford didn't do themselves any favours as they drew at Allscott Heath.
That's correct. Bear in mind as well, Stafford are playing in the final of the Edward Case Cup against Atherton LR,
Winsford could go even further.
Winsford could go even further. Stafford have got to play that one on Easter Monday, where Winsford do have that weekend off.
I don't even think we need to predict that one at the moment.
I think that's all Winsford.
I think it's the battle for the playoffs now. It's an interesting one.
It is.
Out of the top 7 teams, the only team that lost was Sandbach,
and I don't think it's enough to see them fall out of it. I think. As it stands right now, I think that could very well be how it'll end. So Sandbach and Stafford have absolutely secured their passage to the playoffs, or at least Stafford have. Sandbach and Abbey Halton, 58 and 57 points.
So we're looking at the 5th spot, really, aren't we?
And Cheadle Heath Nomads are on 49. So even if Eccleshaw managed to win their remaining 4 games, that'll get them to 60 points, which will overhaul Sandbach and Abbey Halton and Cheadle Heath. But you can't really think that any of those teams are going to lose momentum now. So I think Stafford, Sandbach and Abbey Halton have secured their places. I think it's that last one.
But 5th to 8th places, they're probably still... I mean, Alsager's still got an outside chance. I know they lost again, but they've got an outside chance of finishing in that 5th spot as well.
Well, once upon a time, they were sitting 3rd in the division. It's quite incredible where they've come to at this point in the season. But
seem to have rejuvenated themselves a little, would you say?
A little, but I think it's all about dignity placing at this point. I don't see anything kind of going off there. For me, how it stands now is how it will finish. That's my belief.
Yeah, well, it's fair comment. So what we're moving on to there is the bottom of the table. Yeah. Wolverhampton Sporting Community improved their chances of escaping relegation as they beat bottom team Shawbury Town. So they've swapped places, pushed Shawbury to the bottom with a pal.
Yep.
Allscott Heath's point from the game against Stafford should give them a huge lift going into the final few games, albeit they played a game more than anyone else down at the bottom end, what do you see? How do you see that finishing?
So for me, this is a really bizarre one because one team will trip and then the other one will gain a little bit of momentum, but then the roles will reverse and then the original team will gain momentum and the form team will start to trip. So it's really back and forth between Wolverhampton Sporting Community and Shawbury. Now,
I would like to say you confused me there, but to be perfectly honest, it makes so much sense, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The bizarre thing is that any one of about 4 or 5 teams in that division could still get relegated, really.
Yeah.
Though, Foley Mere are 15th and they're on 28 points. 27 points, Oscott Heath in 16. 24 is Wolverhampton Sporting Community on 17th. And last, Shawbury United on 23. Now, if it stays like that, obviously Shawbury will get relegated, but I start to think that it's probably a bit of a 2 to 3 way battle between the Heath, the Wolves and Shawbury. Now, looking at how they've kind of what they've got coming up.
Wolves. We can look at that at the end of the show, can't we, surely? But listen, I think we've mentioned it time and time during the show because we managed to speak to the one of the joint managers earlier on in the season at Runcorn Town.
Yeah, we did.
And they've done a tremendous job to finish to escape from the relegation. They're safe now. They managed to lose at Cheadle Heath, which was no
shame in
that really, no, because Cheadle are doing particularly well.
They really are.
But yeah, special mention, shout out to them again because I think Runcorn Town and the joint management team, they've done a tremendous job. So
they really have, yeah. So fair play to them, and they probably secured themselves, for another year when they looked like they were down and out of it at one point. Yeah. So for me, Shawbury, I think it will probably be either one of Wolves or Shawbury to go down.
Definitely. So listen, we move on to Division 1 North.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty quick roundup, this really, in many ways. So we'll start with the media-influenced Daisy Hill. They continued their recent revival in fortunes with a great 3-1 win away at AFC Blackpool. What we do know is that regardless of the media hype involved there, it's not really making a significant difference now on the home games. I don't think they're not going to. The gates are not going back up to what they did when the initial frenzy started.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so it was a crowd of 71 that turned up at the Mechanics Stadium up in Blackpool to see AFC Blackpool take the lead after 5 minutes. Daisy Hill took it into half-time at 1-1 through a goal from Alex Dodd and then 2 goals in 4 minutes, securing them that win. But again, a crowd of 71, you would imagine, for the most are AFC Blackpool fans as well. Their home games appear to have dropped off quite significantly as well. Almost back to how they were pre-Aaron Hunt mania. So what he's now got to look at is how to invest from within to draw the crowds in. Again, he's got to do it a different way and not rely on his own media personality to do it. Yeah,
spot on. And listen, but the main talking point is the 2 games at the top, one of which included us, and it could have proved to be the pick of the week, the pivotal moments of the week of the season. Leaders Nelson lost 3-1 to Darwin.
The local derby. They call it the El Hot Pot Derby.
Oh, right. And Darwin still stand an outside chance of making it into the playoffs. A remote one, I think. But with Atherton LR beating us 3-0, they closed the gap on Nelson to just 1 point. And now they have a game in hand, so it's very much in their quarters now.
Well, it is to a degree, yeah. So Nelson took the lead in the El Hot Pot Derby against Darwin, but goals from Bruno Severino, Chris Bailey and Connor Hughes, turning the tide for Darwin in front of a really big crowd there, 355 turning out to see that game, to hand Atherton LR the impetus there as they beat us 3-0 in a game that they controlled quite a lot of. Home advantage played a big part for Atherton LR on non-league day, and they set their stall up reasonably well against us, and came out with the points. Now they've got 2 enormous games, so not only are they playing Nelson this coming Saturday, they then travel to Droylsden on the Tuesday, which is their game in hand, and Droylsden, who beat Ashton Athletic 4-0 away from home, again in front of a big crowd. 220 went up to Ashton in Makerfield to see that one happen.
Brilliant, yeah. We lost, of course. You've just alluded to there. It was a comprehensive victory by Atherton, but in the first half we were losing 1-0. As a neutral looking at that game, you wouldn't have seen there's a divide of 18, 17 places between the two teams at that stage. From a neutral point of view, I think we matched them almost in every department. We just couldn't score. Well,
we'd set up our stall with a very deep lying defence and a deep holding midfield 4, which left Harrison Denton up front on his own, and he was squeezed out of the game by their 2 towering centre-backs.
In fairness, he was man-marking their number 5, wasn't he? So he did an exceptionally good job in that first half.
Well, yeah, in fact, the number 5 ended up coming off at half-time, which probably says enough about what Harrison had done to the lad.
Seen him, by the way, on Wednesday at training, he turned up with a pair of shades on. He's got a black eye. He got elbowed in one of these what do they call them? Development games.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so
right.
He's set for Saturday, but he's got a nice shiner there.
What a cracking kid he is! He's going to bring the war fight from the front there. Go on, the boy.
So overall, would you be proud of the performance that Skem put in? I certainly was. I think the manager was. I think the players have come a long way in a very short period of time. I don't think it's any disgrace. We expected... It was a free hit in many ways. We expected Atherton to be the stronger, better team.
Yeah,
organised.
I'm afraid so, yeah. And I think it does say a lot for how far they've come. This team have been together for a couple of years now. They know each other. They know how they play. Davy Jones has clearly got them setting up in a really, good attack mindset where both the fullbacks are kind of marauding up from deep. And you've got players like Joe Bacon, who scored their 3rd goal, sitting in the middle, but making number 10 runs, while Harvey Sample just caused chaos up front. He's a big, strong lad, very aggressive unit. It's how he likes to play, and he did really well there. But from Skem's point of view, there's no shame in losing to Atherton LR, not by that scoreline either. It's a respectable scoreline. We made them work for it as well. I think that back 5 works exceptionally well. I think... and I think Tommy will know this, is that they've got to attune their attack instincts a little bit more when they're playing a back 5 and a midfield 4. There's got to be a bit more that's got to go up front, but that will come with time and with practice. So I think it's another kind of step in the right direction. And if the players coming out of it, well, then that's a really good mindset to have. And
it was nice to go up there and speak to old friends, Dave, and of course the chairman, Sean, and we continue to wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, we got recognised as well. We did,
well, I was going to say to you, what was the proudest part? We didn't actually get recognised facially, did we? That was the thing.
Well, no.
Our beauty didn't get recognised at all, did it? We were talking to each other, and a couple of people that were in the clubhouse turned around and said, I know them voices.
We know them voices, yeah. We played, yeah, we absolutely did. And that was a real kind of heartwarming moment for us, because it shows how much love and friendship we're making in different parts of the non-league map. So a big shout out to the fellas who recognised us, particularly the gentleman who works Friday, Saturday nights, and this is his go-to podcast.
But when he he tried to tune in last Friday, there was no show.
He was devastated. Yeah, sorry about that.
His work rate was really reduced.
It really was. But
we could have been responsible for getting him the sack.
We could have been, yes. Now, down at the bottom, it was a defeat for Steeton as they lost 4-3 in an epic battle at the Marley Stadium against Main Road. Whereas up in Garstang, they managed to beat Route 1 Rovers. Cole Exley, who was a very recent signing from, I believe it was Padiham. It may have been, I think it was Padiham. He scored his first goal for the club against us, but this time he came out on the correct side of the scoreline as his 2 goals, one at the start of the game and one at the end of the game, securing a 3-2 win over Route 1 Rovers. Now, with that in mind, if the permutations stay the same and we lose our next game, we are guaranteed to finish bottom of the league.
Yes, listen.
I think we've known for a while that this was coming.
Yeah, listen. I think we'll hit on the permutations a little bit later in the.
I'm getting carried away.
In the more controversial stuff, but let's move on to other news that rounds up the Northwest counties.
It does
until the end of the game. End of the podcast. When we'll discuss our predictions and give our expert analysis.
Yes.
But listen, let's talk about Bootle. Bootle have appointed Alan Morgan as the new manager. Morgan was first team coach to Jim Bentley at Southport before they were sacked recently.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought that Paul McNally would be in the running for that job, but I don't even know whether they interviewed for it in the end.
No, I'm not sure. He has. He's not. He's certainly not said anything. Although whether he was likely to, I'm not sure. He may still be in the running for the Southport job, because I don't think that's been filled, has it?
No, I think they're running with the whoever's in charge there. I think is that a Mugan? Is that an Alan Mugan? I can't remember the name now, but whoever's in temporary charge there, I believe, has been given that role till the end of the season.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And who's to say he might even get the job? I don't know.
But
listen, Marine, they continued their great form with a 2-1 win over Peterborough Sports. They've gone from looking down and out in February when they were bottom of the league to having one of the best records, not just locally but nationally. I'm so pleased for Paul and James Leary, who I've been speaking to a lot lately, and that will sort of appear on another show.
Yes.
But listen, we'll move on to the more controversial stuff. We're not going to talk about. Have I missed anything?
No, not at all. I think no. I think you were probably pointing out Marine's good form. I was actually fortunate enough to watch the highlights of that game, and I'll say that Marine not only have got one of the best records in nationally, they've probably got one of the best aerial threats nationally. Both of their goals coming from set pieces involving headers, which continues a bit of a trend as they've scored from set pieces in their last 4 games, I believe it is. And what are they now? Are they now 7 games unbeaten, something like that?
It's ridiculous. I think it's even more than that, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're not only are they now pulling away from relegation, they're also threatening to finish in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
It's quite an astonishing turnaround from where they were.
I believe
6 weeks ago.
Needham Market draw and Marine win on Saturday. I might have that wrong, but I think Marine is safe. Then they're mathematically safe.
Right.
As it stands right now, I think it's highly unlikely that they're going to drop back into the bottom 4 again.
No.
I think they've done enough. I think they've scored 20. They've taken 26 points in the last 10 games. Is it?
Yeah, that's 1 loss and 1 draw.
I'm not too sure.
It's not too bad at all. They're doing exceptionally well. So fair play to them for all but securing their place in. Is it the National League North?
National League North.
National League North. Yeah.
Now, something you raised was the Chorley away days.
Yes, it was. So, in a bid to boost funds for their flotation and upcoming season, Chorley FC are opening their fan zone to Aston Villa fans on Sunday morning, as Aston Villa go on their travels to. I see Newcastle they're playing this weekend.
I didn't know.
No, me neither.
You've caught me on the hop.
I have caught you on the hop. In fact, I've caught myself on the hop because I'm not 100% sure. But anyway.
Well, they've taken a huge delivery.
Certainly have.
And Peretti and a huge amount of burgers on offer too. So if you want a breakfast of Peretti and a breakfast burger, that's the place to go on Saturday. Sunday it is.
This is on Sunday, yeah, when Aston Villa travel to Preston North End.
I thought it must have been a bit more local.
In the FA Cup quarter-finals, yes. So an enormous beer delivery for the anticipated 800 Aston Villa fans who will be visiting the FA Cup fan zone on Sunday, with a pint of Peretti and a breakfast burger offer on the cards, as well as live music being performed by my former flatmate and current best friend, Mr. James Christie.
James Christie?
Yes.
I don't know him myself, but...
He's been to a few of our games as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I don't think you've met him personally, but he was there for our game against Bake Up. He was there for our game against Nelson.
I think you've introduced me.
I may very well have done, yes, but he is the live singer for that game, and I'm actually giving him a lift to it.
Is he any good?
I think so. I think he's terrific.
Oh, right. Well, I've got to tune into that and listen to that. Well, isn't this a great way of supporting lower league football?
Absolutely.
A way that, certainly if you've got the facility and you can help provide this kind of fan zone it brings great money into a non-league football. It's a fantastic idea.
It's a wonderfully innovative idea, and one that's sort of very recent, very new to the concept of lower league football. But Chorley themselves are doing exceptionally well on most business fronts. I mean, we know that they're financially backed by the fellas from Boyzone, and we know that their ticketing costs are a little higher than what you'd normally expect at that level. I believe it's about £15 a ticket, something like that, maybe sort of £10, something along those lines. So they are really kind of doing well on the finances front as they look to make a push on the National League North.
Well, it just shows you what can be achieved by having a good facility. We went up to Accrington recently, didn't we? And their car park was getting hired out for
college students.
For college students, and I think they made £600 on the day, didn't they?
On the day, they absolutely did.
Before we met them.
And on the night during the game, they had a couple of burger bars and whiskey bars, portable ones that had just come along, little travelling ones, making excellent money there on a particularly good night as well, when 400 fans packed into the Jim Fowler ground to watch their team play. So they're another one with some really good innovative business ideas. So it just shows what can be achieved with just an idea. It'll really make all the difference, particularly at this level.
The one thing I wanted to mention was I don't want to go too in depth on this one, but Tom Pope, who's I believe he's the joint manager of Kidsgrove.
That's correct.
Kidsgrove Athletic. He's a former professional footballer. I don't think he's playing anymore. Is he still playing?
He was playing this season at Kidsgrove Athletic. I think he became joint manager / player at right now, but I think he's more leaning towards the coaching side of it.
I don't want to talk about his sort of political standpoints and what he talks about on social media, but in terms of how he reacts to referees and such like and opponents on social media, begs the question: does he go too far? And are there going to be any repercussions? Now, I know that he's gone on record as saying that he's going to put VO coverage up to prove how wrong the referee was. I don't know whether he managed to do that in the end, whether he managed to find it. But I just think he's got a lot to learn if he's going to have a long and successful career in football management. There's a line that you can't cross, and you just become a pariah within the game of football. You become a target, whether you like it or you don't. I don't know what your opinion is on it.
Well, not even that, but you influence other people to think the same way that you do. Yeah, so he's taking he's taking a bit of disagreement, if you like, with how the referee was addressing time wasting within the game, and emphasising, although it's a tough job, the ban that was implemented upon a player within his team is disgraceful. He hopes the assessor's done his job and demands that this referee is demoted. Anything less is corruption. These are, quite provocative statements to be made here at a time.
He might very well be right. And the VO coverage and the referee's assessment, the assessor's assessment of the referee might endorse what he's said. But in terms of using this platform to do that, I think you can still have the same kind of interrogation, without having to put yourself above the parapet and get yourself into trouble. And I don't think it does, as we've known over the last few weeks and months, where we've had issues of violence against referees. I don't think it's a good time to be putting your opinions on Twitter.
I don't think so.
Or any form of social media.
No.
So, footage emerged of a fan throwing beer at Tony Craig during Dorking's defeat to Torquay, with the clip doing the rounds on social media. Now, there's no specific licensing restrictions on throwing beer, but doing so can lead to serious consequences if it results in injury, disorderly conduct, or poses a threat to public safety. So in this case, such a ridiculous action could have resulted in a riot, which raises the question about drinking on the terraces, as it's permitted at non-league level. Should it be allowed? Should drinking be allowed? What do you think, AJ?
My standpoint is that drinking should be allowed on the terraces to a level. So we talked about this, not necessarily this particular notion of drinking on the terraces, but we talked about segregating fans on the terraces at the Macclesfield game very recently, didn't we? And I think the same kind of notion applies here, in that what point does the attendance become out of the hands of the stewarding team and the ability to keep one's own people safe? And I think, it's comparable here. Now, inciting a riot and tensions between fans was the object of the day against Macclesfield. This one is throwing a beer, which, is correct. It could have resulted in injury. It could also have resulted in disorderly conduct and then posed a threat to public safety in the same way that rioting on the terraces could. So I need to believe that each club will use their own discretion in deciding when is appropriate to apply a drinking on the terraces ban, and I think it needs to be when the attendance get to a certain point. Now, this is difficult because you have teams that have regularly demonstrated quite a harmonious atmosphere despite large crowds. So Bury have been one at our level. West Didsbury and Chorlton regularly command a large attendance but have not had any troubles to go along with that. We've also seen big attendances at Padiham and the Isle of Man, and they've never been seen to be disorderly or riotous in any way, shape or form. But I think you need to set a precedent within your own club, depending on the amount of fans and the recent history or the sort of the known episodes of this conduct.
Well, I personally believe that drinking should still be allowed at non-league level. I'm a strong believer that safety is in the hands of the supporters. It's up to the supporters how much safety they have. So if they all toe the line and all act appropriately, then you don't get to a situation where there's a possible riot.
But we're still getting full-grown men being thrown out of professional games for invading the pitch, and they're in their 30s and 40s. We're still getting full-grown men fighting in the streets with, overseas contingents from different clubs. I don't know whether, because they're at a non-league level, whether they're in any kind of order to conduct themselves in a better manner because they're representing a smaller club as a fan.
I don't know whether there's been any repercussions anyway, do you? I've not heard of anything.
No, I haven't either.
No, so maybe that'll be sort of swept under the carpet. Hopefully, all going well. But Accrington Stanley, I wanted to mention this. Now, at some stage, I'd love to get their chairman on, Andy Holt, because he's a really, really outspoken character. He's put an awful lot of money into Accrington Stanley. But as a result of that, he's getting a slap in the face. Now, listen, we've covered similar issues before with West Didsbury and Chorlton, etc., over issues about noise and smells that have irritated local residents. This is a brief excerpt from their recent statement.
Yeah. Recently, Accrington Stanley attended a hearing at the Hinburn Borough Council's office following a complaint from several residents of Livingston Road and Worley Road, Accrington. The complaint centred around the issue of public nuisance caused by live, amplified and recorded music emanating from our venue, which has been a cause of disturbance to our neighbours. The residents have raised concerns that the area surrounding Accrington Stanley is residential, and as such, they should not be subjected to music in their properties and gardens, where they expect to hear birdsong instead. The outcome of this hearing has led to a significant decision that affects us all. Regrettably, our football club has lost the right to stage functions where live and amplified music will be played. This encompasses a wide range of celebrations, including birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, Christmas parties, and more. Given the impact of this decision, it is with great deal of sadness that we have made the difficult decision to close the venue for the foreseeable future, except on match days, where an allowance has been made until 7:30 p.m. That's silly.
Yeah, it is. And listen, we don't know what the sound levels are there, but what we do know is that Andy Holt has been working closely with the council, in recent times, and they even give him the freedom of Accrington or something like that, and at no stage have they turned around and said there's a problem with local residents. So you think at bare minimum they would have warned him that there was such a situation, give him the chance to do something about it. But
you would certainly think that he would give him the chance to do something about it. Warning him about it can be difficult when the residents either complain as one, and it's quite an isolated thing that you could probably brush away. But when they complain en masse as one for the first time, then that sort of puts the council on the back foot. What I do take issue with is the fact that these neighbourhoods and these residents will have known that Accrington Stanley Football Club and the venue is an area licensed for sporting facilities, sporting events, live music events and things like that. They will have known about that before they moved in. They cannot take umbrage with something like this when they should have known about it.
In fairness, it has expanded as a business. It's a lot bigger. It's been it's basically had a rebuild, new stands built, extensions.
It may very well have been,
but such like.
Yeah, which will have all bypassed Hinburn Borough Council for them to approve. Now, if Hinburn Borough Council had anything about them, they will have sent out a document to, I think it's a white letter document to all residents within the local area asking for their opinion on whether they believe certain restrictions should be in place or whether they would be happy with the notion of live and loud music events taking place there. There will have been an awful lot of red tape to bypass from Hinburn Borough Council before they got to the decision to award permission to the venue to play this kind of music and to make this kind of event. They cannot then backtrack on themselves because the residents have taken umbrage with something that they should have been consulted with in the first place. Yeah.
And sort of returning back to their chairman, Andy Holt, and the things that he's done for the football club and for Accrington in general. He's already threatened. I think he's put the club up for sale. I don't know whether it's still up for sale. It's not likely to attract any buyers anytime soon, but he's put millions of pounds into that football club, and he must. Well, I know for a fact he feels very disillusioned, and it's just a case of once again somebody putting the club potentially in a position where they're going to lose a hell of a lot of money, and that doesn't bode well with me, because I think we should be supporting non-league football clubs, if not non-league now are they, but originally non-league, but league clubs, a football at any level, we should be supporting them. And if you don't like it, controversially, move away. A lot of these people that have lived there for years and never complained. Maybe the noise has gone up a notch or two, and maybe it's gone on longer than it ever did before. But let's sort of sort those situations out first before we issue sort of wholesale bans on. I don't think it bodes well for any football club.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. And it'll be interesting to see whether Andy Holt and Stanley make the decision to appeal the decision.
One thinks there is an appeal. You would imagine there's an appeal in the process. But
I think so.
Listen, I just hope the successful. And listen, that rounds up the first part of the show. In part two, we will have our special guest on. So our interview in part two will be with Kaine Duncan. Kaine Duncan is the co-chairman and the owner and founder of Manchester Eclipse Football Club. He's also been in the eye of the Northwest Counties recently for being one of the prospective chairmen of Main Road Football Club. So in part two, we will be speaking to him. Don't go anywhere. Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club: Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions, and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles, and the lottery bonus ball scheme. And, of course, the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Berquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the second part of the Speaking Frankly football show, and a warm welcome to Kaine Duncan, who is the founder and co-chairman of Manchester Eclipse Football Club. But in a little bit of a strange sort of segue, the Main Road announced that they were looking for a new chairman the other day, and Kaine approached them. And well, first of all, AJ will introduce the
statement, which was released on the 23rd of March. So, Main Road Football Club are inviting applicants for a new chairman ahead of the 25-26 season. In addition, they're also welcoming volunteers to join the club's committee as it begins an exciting new chapter in its history. Ian King, the existing chairman, will remain with the club in an alternate capacity and has said, "We are a club that is renowned for its focus on youth development and supporting young Mancunian players and their progression through the non-league pyramid. Formed 70 years ago initially by the Rusholme Manchester City Supporters Club, the club takes its name from the Main Road Social Club in Moss Side, its former base, and still enjoys strong links with the Premier League club today. In addition to seeing many players launch their professional careers at Brantingham Road, we've enjoyed a rich history, playing at Step 5 of the non-league pyramid as North West Counties members since 1987, and were Premier Division runners-up in 2013. Additionally, we've enjoyed cup success as winning the Manchester Premier Cup 6 times and the North West Counties League Cup in 2013. So, Kaine, would you consider yourself to be a Main Road fan?
I've always been a long-standing fan of the club since actually being a young child, to be fair. I've had a long passion for grassroots football, Manchester City Football Club itself, and I actually grew up around the area where the actual original Main Road ground was. So I've always had that sort of attraction to the club and, its origins. So yeah, I'll describe myself as quite a large fan of the club at the moment.
Okay. When the advertisement came out and you saw it, were you immediately interested in becoming the chairman, or were you, given your project with Manchester Eclipse, which we'll come to a little later, were you a bit hesitant to investigate further?
Actually, there was actually no hesitation on my behalf. So in terms of the project with Manchester Eclipse, the project with Manchester Eclipse and what the next steps are for Main Road could be very aligned. So again, bringing my ideas for Manchester Eclipse was to bring it into the media instantly, to bring that attention. But Manchester Eclipse is a club that doesn't have a history and would have to build this history, whereas Main Road has such a large history. It has an active fan base and it has a real platform to build from. So I've basically saw an opportunity for to incorporate these ideas into one and bring it forward through Main Road, which would increase the chances of anything like this being successful. Because like anyone knows, in terms of grassroots football, anything like this, you need support, you need a fan base, you need a community already, and that's what Main Road already has.
Yeah, of course. Without going into too much detail, because I know nothing is concrete yet, do you have your own short-term and long-term ideas of what you'd like to do if you were to successfully get the chairman job at Main Road?
Yeah, so we've sat down. There's actually a team behind this at the moment. I'd say a team of 4 or 5 people at the moment that's actually actively working on it. So we've been doing the research. We've been already actively reaching out to organisations, schools, universities, ex-players, ex-managers, everyone that's been involved with the club, just to sort of start building this overall plan. So we've got a vision, we've got a business plan going into place. Just to talk about some of them ideas in general, like I mentioned, media. Is a large side of that. Main Road at the moment actively, you can see that they're active on Twitter. You can see that they have engaged in a fan base. However, my sort of vision for that would be increasing on that, looking to bring it to a younger audience, looking for sustainability for the fan base, just overall modernising the club as a whole.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we can certainly get behind that one. Have you ideas for what you'd like to do on the pitch? Because obviously Main Road, whilst they have enjoyed some success, on the pitch, have kind of fallen away from that kind of successful period in recent times. Is that something that's also a concern?
So in terms of it being a concern, I wouldn't say so much. In recent times, Main Road has fallen off, as we all know. It used to be playing in, a step above where it currently is. Although the platform we have at the moment, we would like to be in a position where, we could be challenging to be playing in the FA Cup, looking for them games which can bring major income and attention to a club. So we have plenty of ideas on the pitch, which does include pushing for promotion, pushing for that next step. The current squad is great, but at the moment, my personal opinion on where things are standing is that we need to start looking a lot more into youth, looking more towards the reserves team. The reserves team, there's players there, that could easily make that step up if they were given the chance. And I feel like these are the departments where the club could do better at the moment, and that is bringing in this younger generation, looking at modern, as I say, again, it's all back to modernising that club, having that network, because as the club joined its most successful times, if we're talking 20 years ago, we had players coming up from the reserves, younger players, they were coming into the team, they were committed for years, and then, if they went on to continue their career elsewhere, they always came back. As you've seen, they've had a culture of, hiring ex-players as managers and stuff like that. And it's something we'd like to stick to, we'd like to stick to the club's roots. Our idea isn't to come in and just turn this club around and change it into something, completely different. And we know it's no far going to be an easy step or something we're going to achieve quickly. It's going to be a journey, it's going to be a progress, and we need everyone involved with the club to be ticking on the same level, the same thought process of what we're going through. So yeah, on the pitch, the main idea for us is pushing for promotion and pushing for them next steps to try and push the club further than it's been before.
And in fairness, Kaine, you're not doing particularly bad at the moment. Currently in 7th place in the North West Counties Division 1 North. It's not such a bad point to start at, really, is it?
No, it's not a bad platform at all. I mean, 7th, the club's really looked at times like it could push for promotion this season. We've had back-to-back wins towards the start of the season. We've had a great run in terms of penalties. Overall, it looks like it could be already moving that direction. it just needs another kick to keep it going that way, get more fans down, get more engagement, and just overall just make it more of a enjoyable experience for everyone, because that's another one of our biggest aims, would be to improve the match day experience on the club.
Mm-hmm. Which is pretty difficult given the facilities at Main Road now are they're pretty poor at the moment. It's in need of certainly in need of a lick of paint.
Yeah, so that has been things that we've also, looked at. The ground itself, it's old, it's outdated, but this is a ground that, if we remember, it does have a lot of history. Back in the day, this was the actual training ground for Manchester City Football Club. So, we want to remain ideally at this ground and look at ways to invest in the ground, invest in its future, how it can be improved. As you mentioned, it does need a lick of paint. We could certainly need some new stands and look at ways we can incorporate for families, their experiences, and that's a lot of the ideas we have at the moment.
In terms of financial input, have you got any money behind you to help boost this project?
So financially, in terms of where we are with the club, we've already got a range of sponsors since actually announcing that we're looking at, going out to the chairman position that I've actually approached. We have a strategy in place to improve the club's finances, and we've also got a strategy for how it's going to be something that will go long term for sustainability, because we don't want to do anything that's, again, going to put the club behind, but it would include stuff like merchandise, and again, as I mentioned, the match day experience thing, offering packages where you can come down and get more of an experience from your match day. Obviously, financial from myself perspective, obviously I've been doing a lot in terms of non-profit work. That's been my whole life, community non-profit, and that's where I'm at. And this is where the club's at, so there's a lot of revenues to tap into in terms of grant funding, council, the county FAs. It's just meeting these requirements, and this is all part of our strategy to ensure we meet these requirements to look at boosting the club in the future financially.
Which is probably a good point at which to sort of change the conversation a little bit more towards the original project, which was Manchester Eclipse Football Club. But before we go into that, I'd like to... How old are you?
So I'm actually 24 years of age. I'll be 25 at the end of this year.
I did think you were extremely young, and that's why I've asked you the question, because I wasn't entirely sure how young you are, but certainly looking at your pictures, you're a bit younger than I actually thought.
Yeah, so I am 24, so I can understand, people might have that hesitation where, this is a young guy, he doesn't know much, he's not got much, but in terms of life experiences, my own passions, and, my own sort of thoughts and views, I'd say it's helped me mature as a person. I've made mistakes before. It's not something I'm going into blind. I've run football club before. I've seen the good side to it. I've seen the bad side to it. And I'm also not, by any means, putting my ambition over what's actually going to be sustainable. Looking at this for what the Main Road needs now is that it's been guided on a good path for many years. There's been a few changes in the board over the years where there's been a bit of a rotation there, and it's not brought much sustainability. Now, me being a younger person, sustainability is something I can definitely bring to the club. It's something I'll be dedicating a lot of my time to, treating it almost as a full-time job. As we know, this is voluntary, and it's not something that you're going to go in and you expect to make you're going to go and make £1,000 like people expect if they'll start in a football club. It's voluntary, and it's all about the volunteers behind it and their dedication and passion to it. And I can say that I'll be dedicated and passionate about this club for 30 to 40 years beyond, and bring that sustainability the club needs.
Yeah, listen, I'm not thinking for 1 minute that age is a barrier in terms of being a chairman of a football club. I was probably one of the youngest chairman of, certainly in Skelmersdale United's history, when I first became the chairman back in 2009. I think it was around about 38. I thought I was rather young then, but you're certainly not spots off that.
No.
Yeah, no, so obviously I am obviously again much younger than from when you was, but I just say again, it's back to the vision, it's back to the passion for the club, and that I think that's what any club needs. You need someone that's going to be passionate, that's got that vision, that's got that drive and motivation, but is also realistic of what it's going to take to drive to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
With that then, sort of explain a bit more about your background in football and more about Manchester Eclipse.
Yeah, so in terms of football, I used to play football quite actively as a young lad. I pushed for trials at places like City, places like Everton. I played games for development squads with Blackpool. But unfortunately, due to injury, after I left football properly, I was in school, got an injury to my ACL. It wasn't something that was identified quickly. I wasn't actively, in sports at the time. But unfortunately, it's something that's held me back in going back into goalkeeping, the locking knees, the issues that's caused me. And then plus also the family. I've been building a family. I've got 4 children. It's been something that's held me back. But in terms of football as a whole, I've always had that love and passion for it. So when I was 18, got into coaching, and I actually started with my own Sunday League club, Manchester Eagles Football Club. Now, we were unfortunate because we started at a really bad time. We started around COVID. We started off with such great momentum. And then the pandemic hit. We was unsure when the games were going to be, when they were going to not be. And then, it just further developed and sunk, unfortunately, in terms of player fees, trying to get players back to the club, the finances there. It's where it sunk. And I could say a lot of it's down to COVID, but I'd also, my own reflections on that journey with Manchester Eagles was, I was, again, going back to the age, I was 18 at the time, and I thought, oh yes, this was the idea of how to start a football club. Sort of bounced right into it and got a harsh reality when you jumped right into it and realised, there's a lot more to running a club than you originally think. So we did play in the Sunday League, total football. Unfortunately, that league doesn't run no more. So again, we were quite unfortunate. The league wasn't the best of leagues. A lot of clubs were in and out of the league. There was a lot of rotation, a lot of missed deadlines, and it just it all dampened the players' sort of ambition for the club. So we unfortunately folded as a club. Again, I go back into football a few years later because I got approached by a coach that had helped at Manchester Eagles, and he sort of said, look, I'd love to try and try and get another club out there, which bought Gorton Rangers. But again, Gorton Rangers was sort of something that came after COVID, and there was a lot of I'd say anxiety for people to come down to clubs and get involved again in sports and stuff like that. And again, it was down to the finances at the time as well. A lot of people weren't working, they'd been laid off work, or they just wasn't getting paid enough to keep paying off the fees. So again, as I say, the finances for a small club like that, it's really essential. So we sort of always decided, before it got too deep into it, before the club got into debts and stuff like that, the sensible way was just to be quit whilst we was ahead. On reflection of that, I spent years this time harnessing plans on what we're going to be doing, how I would bring forward a new club, what went wrong, how we could do better. So that sort of brought forward Manchester Eclipse. So the whole idea was to actually build a club that was actively engaging with the community and was trying to, not just remain inside ourselves, because again, as a young lad, what I didn't realise is networking is everything. If you're going to do anything like this in business, in football, networking and speaking to other people, other contacts, bouncing off other people's experience, it's everything. And that's something I failed to do with the other 2 clubs. So with Manchester Eclipse, that's been the sort of approach. And again, even since, the whole thing with Main Roads, that's been the whole approach. We're always looking at ways we can improve. So Manchester Eclipse, our idea for that is to bring the team into the media. We want to be active on YouTube and sort of show the story down from the nitty-gritty of starting a football club, what it takes to start a football club, the finances behind it and the process behind it. And that's what the YouTube series will cover. The YouTube series would be the main front for the club, really, because our idea would be to enter into the Manchester League Division 1. Unfortunately, we've started planning a bit late. We decided for this season, although there's still time to prepare a team, there's still time to do all of that, we want to be a club that's prepared, sustainable before we go to enter the league. Because obviously, if you do well in the Manchester League Division 1, there's then the requirements that you need to be in the Premier Division, ground-wise, club-wise, and then excelling past that. So we wanted to make sure over this year we put ourselves in the best position. So the whole, it's been a really exciting project because since we put out about it, the approach we've taken with it, we've had a lot of great feedback. We've been reached out to from UEFA coaches, we've been reached out to from scouts, football clubs, ex-players, from non-league clubs that are interested in the sort of project we have for it. So it's been a really exciting project, to be honest. Obviously, we got Simon Kenyon on the other day. He's someone with a good amount of experience in football. He's helped out with a lot of non-league clubs before. So again, it's just something that brings that excitement.
Yeah, and I'm going for a coffee with him later. He's a good friend of mine, Sam. But listen, I know you said you're passionate about grassroots football, and You've touched on social media there, and there's a lot of people playing the same game at the moment. Aaron Hunt at Daisy Hill. You've got the real Bedford as well.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of media influencers that have jumped on the non-league football bandwagon, and then if you go sort of further up, you've got the Wrexham story from the non-league going back into football league. How can you change? How can you put yourself above them in terms of progression and progressing a football club? And bearing in mind that it could go either way, you could end up the chairman of Main Road, or you could continue this project with Manchester Eclipse.
Yeah, so in terms of putting ourselves above them, I think each respective club that is, harnessing the media the way they are, they're doing it very well. They're engaging, they're building a fan base. The best example of this for me would be Stretford Paddock, who have, they've got an international fan base behind the club, just from what they're doing as a clubhouse. Stephen Howson's, managed that side of the club. So, trying to put ourselves above them, we've got to be tactical, we've got to be strategic. Obviously, Manchester Eclipse, it's going to be a lot harder for our plan for it. But for us is what Stretford Paddock didn't do. When you started seeing their videos, you started seeing it from, right, here's the club, we're doing trials. I want to show it from everything, down from the planning from day one, the meetings between myself, the co-owner, any potential board members, the managers, the initial sessions, everything. I don't want to just post the good about the club either. I want to post the bad sides, the things that ain't doing so well. And I think that sort of transparency helps to build a trust, not only with the fans, but the community around the club and the sponsors and everyone involved with the club. It shows, this is a club that's progressive, that's thinking, that's not just reflecting on what's good. We're paying attention to what's bad and we're listening. Again, the output that these clubs are doing, they're getting thousands of people watching, and this is the way forward. If we look at clubs that are getting up there now, that started non-league, they've gone the media way and they've progressed quickly, and that's because they're attracting the people they need, the players. They're attracting that right attention, and that's what we want to make sure we're doing. The journey with Main Road with media, it would kind of be a lot easier, because we're talking a club that's rich in history. You're going to have City fans that will be paying attention to it. You're going to have the current Main Road fans that are going to be paying attention to it. And, this sort of progress, this sort of dream to bring the club back to where it was, similar to the way Wrexham was, this club that once a giant. Obviously, Main Road wasn't so much as a giant, but in terms of where it's been in its history in, the North West Counties leagues, it would be classed as a giant. It's been there, it's been up there, it's won the cups, and it's got the history behind it to back it. So with Main Road, I think that would be a lot easier, and it'd be, again, just engaging the fans, the players, and showing the true story now. So if, say, everything goes well, we take over at Main Road, from day one, we want to try and look at getting media down, linking them with universities, students that are in the final year in the universities, and giving them that opportunity to come down and be part of a project like that. And I think that's where we're going to set ourselves aside. It's all about giving opportunities, again, to the community, to the locals, that you wouldn't usually get.
You've got a lot of competition in the area, though, haven't you?
You do. So obviously Main Road is located in South Manchester. Manchester itself as a whole, there's hundreds, thousands of football clubs out there, and we've all got the same dream. Nobody starts a football club with a dream of just keeping it where it is. Everyone's got this dream of one day seeing their club progress to the Premier League, and seeing it play on TV, seeing it making nice money, bringing in the top players. So there is a lot of competition, and I think where we have to focus on is, although there might be a lot of competition, this is something new, this is something fresh, and it's something exciting. Where be it Main Road, this is the start of a new era, which will everyone find the excitement of, or Manchester Eclipse, which is this total new, basic underdog that's going to start this mad, crazy journey of attacking a football pyramid. It's that sort of thing that it just drags people in. There's football fans left, right, and centre, the UK and internationally. And if we drive it right, we sell it right, we show, the true side of the club, there's no reason why we can't be just as successful as other clubs that have took that approach.
Yeah. And it's going to be far easier for you to sort of come directly into a football club and showcase your talents, rather than have to start from scratch, one would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we could say it would be easier, but at the same time, there's what makes it not easier. That Main Road's already a club that's got this established fan base. We mentioned it's got this history, and we don't want to take it too far from that history. Whereas if we did go ahead with Manchester Eclipse, people might see Main Road as the easier option, but Manchester Eclipse would personally be the easier option, because that's being able to implement our own strategy from day one, being able to implement our vision without stepping on the toes of previous fans, previous club owners, previous people on the board. So it might be easier, but we do kind of reflect on the challenge it is going to bring in itself. You know, it's going to have a warming period, there's going to be a transition period. Are the fans going to take to a younger owner? Are the fans going to take to our vision for the club? How's the squad going to react? How's the manager's going to react? There's all the sort of different aspects to it, but as you say, it might be easier coming into a club that might already be established, but for me personally, I'd say the easier option would be Manchester Eclipse, because that's where we can start from fresh and make sure it's our own vision implemented. So again, yeah, I can see where it could be easier, but in my eyes, yeah, Main Road would be the slightly harder option to try and keep it to its roots.
And do you feel as though the opportunity, if it does come to fruition with Main Road, when do you see that starting? Is there a date when this could, possibly come together?
So as I just mentioned before the podcast sort of thing, there is no actual set dates right now. I mean, we've got a meeting next week at the next Main Road game with Jordan. I'll be meeting with the current chairman and some other representatives from the committee, and then I believe there'll be some more of a process after this where we'll meet the rest of the committee, sort of, present the vision for the club, and then we'll come to a sort of agreement. I know Ian plans to stay with the club in a different capacity, and sort of, so as I say, there'll be a transition period. For me, we're coming to the end of the season. Ideally, where we would be picking up is from the end of this season, right? Here's the new era, here's the vision, here's how things are going to operate from now on.
Listen, the only thing that you do lack is experience. You touched upon the fact that you need a huge network in this game. That's correct. But I've always said, I'm getting to close on 58 years of age now, but I've gone on record as saying it is very much a young man's game now. But you're going to have to hit the ground running, regardless of how much networking you do and how much help that you receive. It's not going to be easy. And when you talk about social media influencing, I think when we had Pascal Chimbonda at the club last season, we attracted over 10 million impressions on various social media platforms. But it didn't particularly help us in terms of the coffers or finances. There was a sort of little ripple effect, but that was as much as it was. So you really have got your work cut out. But I applaud you for trying.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. So obviously, in terms of, like as you mentioned, the coffers, the finances, social media alone won't do that. The only way we're going to do that is by putting the time into the club and putting the investments into the club to improve things like being able to attract more fans down to the club, making it more attractive again to the younger audience who, they might not already support a club and be set on supporting the club. Most people go Manchester City, most people go Manchester United. But in modern days, as I say, with the issues with these big clubs, it's so expensive to get in to watch a game, whereas you could go down to around the corner from your house and watch your local football club in this sort of journey. So yeah, my sort of vision for that, as I say, it's down to merchandise. It's the way we sell the club, the way we make it a brand, make it a business, and try and really push on trying to increase the revenue that comes in. Would be all down to fans. It'd be down to fans. It'd be down to the community about the club and the sponsors.
Yeah. Have you managed to meet Ruben Denton yet?
No. So as I say, it's all very fresh. It's all very fresh. It's all been these past few sort of days. I think the whole interest picked up 3 days ago. So anything in terms of meeting with other people and stuff like that, that's going to go on from after next Saturday on the 5th. We'll start meeting with other people. We'll start, networking further out and, just trying to bring more awareness to what we're actually trying to do with the club. Because as I say, it's all very fresh. As you say, there's not much experience in the background from myself that I can bring forward. But everyone that's had a chance to see the vision so far, they can see where it's coming from. It's not just something that's come up overnight. There's been a lot incorporated from my own ideas, from my own club, But again, from the passion from Main Road I have, I feel like, again, I've spoken to players, spoken to ex-players, ex-managers that I've seen the things, and there's a lot of support behind it right now.
Yeah, listen, Ruben Denton was playing with us just a few weeks ago, and if you're looking for a poster boy in terms of your social media, he's definitely the style guru at the football club there at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. I'll definitely make sure I keep that in mind. As I say, we've got a lot of people on the list that we need to reach out to, so we can just add that name on.
Yeah, listen, it's been fabulous talking to you. The best of luck. I hope you get the gig at Main Road, and if not, I hope that Manchester Eclipse does the business equally as well. You've increased your network by 2 tonight, so that's a bonus as well.
No problem. Thank you. It's been a great night, and it's been a pleasure to be on the show. So thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Good luck, Kaine. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club: Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions, and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles, and the lottery bonus ball scheme. And, of course, the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Bergquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the third and final part of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and a big thank you to
Kaine Duncan.
Duncan, our guest, before the break. Fabulous. I know a lot of people don't know a great deal about him, but we found him a really interesting character because of the content he's currently putting on social media, and his ideas about producing a football club from scratch, or the potential of taking over a football club that's all is running
already in existence. Yeah, he's got a lot of ideas about what he wants to do with both Manchester Eclipse and Main Road, and I think he's probably one of these new breed of a footballing chairman that's starting to kind of come through the ranks, where they're using the internet as a main means to gather attention for his club. He said, in his interview, that networking is everything, and he's got some good ideas about how his networking is going to bring together financial security and prosperity for his clubs. So all the very best to Kaine.
Yeah, 24 years of age, crikey. I couldn't imagine running a football club back. I was 38, like I said. When I ran a football club for the first time, can't imagine what it must be like to be a 24-year-old and have that kind of gumption, the bravery, the balls.
As well as having 4 children.
Having 4 children in a short space of time. He's been a busy man.
He is a busy man, absolutely. He's got a partner, 4 children. He works regularly in non-profit. He's founded his own football club, and now he's chasing down being chairman of a very established North West Counties Football League team. Where does he find the time?
Yeah, listen, best of luck to him and the future. I think we'll hear more about him. Probably have him on the show sometime in the new season. See how he's getting on.
Absolutely.
But we go to the fixtures now. Our predictions and our expert analysis. I mean, a fair bit of it we sort of imparted on you on the first part of the show, but we'll come to the current fixtures. And tonight, AFC Liverpool take on Barnoldswick Town at the Marine Travel Arena. That's an 8 o'clock kick-off.
Yeah, our new home, the Marine Travel Arena. Yeah.
Yes, and in a very special episode of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, you'll be able to learn more about what's happening there.
We'll allude to that one at the end of the show.
Yep.
Yes.
So AFC Liverpool, Doing remarkably well, but we've said it before. They can win, they can lose,
or they can lose. They're not used to drawing though.
No.
Barnoldswick Town, by their own admissions, very mixed bag of results. 15 wins, 11 draws, 16 losses. That being said, their recent form hasn't been fantastic. They're no win in the last 5 games, a few draws here and there. That bodes better for AFC Blackpool than anyone else, so I'm saying a home win.
Yeah, I'm going AFC Liverpool as well.
Yeah. Did you manage to collate your scores from the last episode that we did?
No, I didn't. I've got them here somewhere, but I've not gone through to see what's, because it's been a 2-week gap, and I spent a lot of time in York. If I wasn't walking, I was walking from bar to bar.
Goodness.
I was drinking, eating, being merry. I'm extremely tired, but you know what? Still couldn't sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Bless you. That's
I don't know how it went. No, I know I got the Lower Breck score right.
Yep.
I know I got the Winsford score right. Yeah, listen, I could go on and on. There was about 40,000 different matches in that one, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I got...
Oh, there was a full page, wasn't it?
It was just a full page, yeah. It was quite a light one. So I got 12 out of 23.
Well, yeah, then let's compare then. Lower Breck won their game, didn't they?
Yeah. Winsford won. Atherton LR won.
I've got that, yeah.
Stafford won.
On pens, I got that.
Yeah.
Did I say on pens? Was it on pens in the end?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, right, okay.
Stafford
Well, I corrected that. I got that one right.
Stafford
anyway.
won outright.
Lower Breck won?
Yes, they did. Barnoldswick and Abbey Hay, I think was it a draw?
I don't know, but I've got it down as a draw, you say that. But I can't go that far back because we've only printed off this.
Yeah, Burscough beat Kaine.
Got that one?
Yep, Charnock Richard beat Cheadletown.
Got that one?
FC Isle of Man Pilks was a draw.
Got that one.
You're kidding!
There's a deal outside.
Bury beat St Helens.
I got that one.
Yeah. Earlham against Longridge. I believe Longridge won that one actually.
Well,
was it a draw?
They played each. Was it Charnock? They got beat by Charnock, didn't they? So I don't know about that one. But
Ramy beat Little and Remica.
Got that
one. South Liverpool versus Glossop. I think we said home win there.
Well, I got that one wrong. I went for Glossop. They didn't win that.
Yeah, West Didsbury and Chorlton versus Padiham. Padiham won.
I didn't get that one right.
No, me neither. Daisy Hill versus AFC Blackpool was a draw.
Right. I didn't get that one either.
Camel Laird versus Barnton was a home win for Camel Laird.
Got that one.
Foley Mere versus Stockport Georgians was an away win.
Got that.
God. Well, you've already won. FC Isle of Man versus Prestwich Hayes was a home win.
I didn't get that one.
Okay. Main Road versus Holker was a draw.
I didn't get that one.
Okay. Lower Breck beat Kaine.
Got that one.
Padiham beat Burscough.
I had that as a draw.
Okay. Atherton beat Steeton.
Yes.
And Southport beat Longridge.
Yeah, I got all of them.
Oh, for crying out loud. So you've quite clearly beaten me.
Yeah.
You've got about 19 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, that was great.
Shut up.
Yeah. But listen, there was other results, wasn't there? But we can't go through to them. So we go to the Saturday games in the Macron Cup semi-finals. AFC Blackpool versus Stafford Town.
I'm seeing that as a home win. Stafford Town have already got the Edward Case Trophy to contend with. They also have to try and preserve their season as much as they can. If they want to overhaul Winsford, maybe they'll look to that one. But they've got a bit of more food on their plate. This is the only thing AFC Blackpool have reasonably got to go for. I think the playoffs are out of their hands now, so I'm saying home win here.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Okay. Charnock Richard versus Barnton.
That's a home win for me as well.
So that's going to be a local final, isn't it?
Charnock Richard versus AFC Blackpool.
It's a relatively local final, isn't it? There's not much distance between the two.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's a trip up the M6, M55.
Yeah, well, I suppose you're right.
It's a quick journey, isn't it? Imagine it'll be on a neutral ground, I would imagine.
It will, yeah. I'm not sure where it will be played, really. Where was it played last year? Can you remember?
No, I don't know.
Fair enough. Anyway, Saturday the 29th of March, so this will come to the Premier Division games, all of which are at 3 o'clock, apart from the FC Isle of Man. So we'll start with Abbey Hay versus Padiham, and straight off I'm seeing an away win there too.
Bury Squires Gate. Bury.
Yep. Cheadletown versus Bursk. Ooh. Draw.
It's got well, no, I'm not going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a home win.
Okay, fair enough. Remica versus Kaine.
Well, that's an interesting one, because
really
Litherland have got nothing to lose because they're guaranteed safety, whereas Kaine have got more to play for.
They absolutely have, and between the two of them, their recent results haven't been fantastic, whatever way you look at it, really. So
your heart is with Kaine, so
it really is for some reason, but I'm going to say Kaine.
Yeah, Longridge Town versus Pilkington.
Longridge having a pretty drab run of form themselves here, just lost 4 of their last 6, no wins in the other 2 fixtures either, whereas Pilks made a really good show of themselves against Bury despite losing, so I'm just going to say an away win there.
Go for a draw.
Alright, Prestwich Hayes versus Rami, that's an away win for me.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say with that is Prestwich Hayes, it's a need-win game for them, and Ramsbottom might be jockeying for positions in terms of the playoffs. They might be looking at the permutations there.
Well, I think they probably are, and if you're sitting in 3rd place, obviously that guarantees you a home tie for the semis, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly. So they're going to want to preserve that. They do have a bit of a healthy lead over Padiham, but even with 4 games left to play, they're going to want to build up some good momentum going into that one. So with that in mind, I would still say Rami.
I'm going to go for Prestwich Hayes in a very, very close game.
All right, fine. South Liverpool versus Earlham.
Well, South Liverpool's still got a little bit of work to do, haven't they? So
they do, and Earlham have not won in the last 3 games.
No,
they haven't.
Things seem to have got sort of rocked the boat since they got the. Is it a points deduction? Was it?
Yeah, I don't think it was an awful lot, but it seems to have hit them. Yeah. I'm still going to say an away win.
Yeah, I'll go for Earlham as well.
All right.
Stockport Town versus FC St Helens.
Draw for me.
FC St Helens had a really, really good win last Saturday against Longridge Town, 4-0. I think it's FC St Helens for me.
Alrighty. Now this will be an absolute crackerjack of a fixture, this one. West Didsbury and Chorlton versus Chadderton.
A Manchester derby.
Absolutely, yeah. North versus South. So West Didsbury and Chorlton have, made a consistently good account for themselves all season. An enormous home crowd, as we said. They're in the playoffs there, but they're going to want to keep that. Whereas Chadderton, I think, they're sitting in 7th, but I think their playoff ambitions are almost over. And certainly if they lose this one, it will be mathematically over as well. So I would say a home win.
Yeah, West Didsbury have just got to keep. They've got to keep winning, and I know they've got a 4-point gap, but they've just got to keep winning. They're not going to. Highly unlikely that they're going to go above Padiham, is it? So,
true.
West Didsbury and Chorlton for me.
Yeah. And then the 6 o'clock game on the Saturday night sees the FC Isle of Man take on Lower Breck. It's
a big game for Lower Breck. It's away from home. It all depends how they travel and prepare for it.
It is.
Because we do know that you leave very early in the morning to pick up your flight. I don't know whether they're flying from Manchester or Liverpool. Would assume from Liverpool. So it might not be too bad for them. It's all down to preparation.
Considering they are based in Liverpool, I think the travel time would be significantly less than if it was a team from over the east side of Manchester, such as Droylsden or Abbey Hay, something like that one. So with that in mind, and considering how they've managed the workload recently, I still say the advantage is with Lower Breck.
But it could be one of the biggest games of the season for Lower Breck, because it could define how the rest of the season goes with 3 games after that. I think it's a crucial win for them anyway.
It really is, yeah. So I'm saying away win there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
So move on to the
First Division South.
Abbey Holton versus Wolverhampton. I'm going for Abbey.
Same.
Holton.
Yeah.
Asheville Alsager. I'm going for I don't know. It's a close one. I'll go for Alsager.
I'm going to say Asheville.
Yeah. Eccleshall versus Market Drayton Town. I think they'll win again.
Eccleshall.
I think Market Drayton, they had a narrow defeat, didn't they, on Saturday?
They did.
But I think they'll return to winning ways.
I'm going to say a draw.
Right, okay, fair enough. New Mills versus Camelhead.
That's a home win, I think, for me.
Yeah, I'll go along with you there. Runcorn Town versus Foley Mere.
Home win, I think.
Yeah, go for a home win. Yeah. Shawbury, bottom of the league, Sandbach all day long. Yeah. Stockport Georgians versus Winsford. There's got to be a Winsford United win.
Yeah.
Are we going to go into the midweek games? Because there's a lot of them, isn't there?
Yeah, but those also was in there, so I think we'd probably better go back to the north.
Go back
if you want to skip us to the end.
But we need to. Yeah, sorry, we've got to go back to us, haven't we?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, let's go to that. It's a good job, you reminded me there. So Ashton Town versus Darwin. Ashton doing really, really well at the moment, but Darwin have still got one eye on the playoffs.
They do still have one eye on the playoffs. It's a bit of an outside chance, but they're going to want to push as much as they can, particularly after being invigorated with that win over Nelson. I will say an away win there.
Yeah, I'll go for Darwin. The one thing to be noted then, I don't know whether it was you that mentioned it to me, but Nelson had one of their players sent off, didn't they, in the game against Darwin? I don't know whether that's going to be a 1-match ban or a 3-match ban, but that could have a big say in the sort of title race.
Well, particularly if this game is the Atherton LR game for which he is banned for. Yeah, which we'll come to in just a second. So Bacup Borough against Steeton, that would be Bacup Borough for me, just based on how Steeton are performing at the minute, which is not well.
I'm going for Steeton.
Mm-hmm. Fine. Daisy Hill versus Accrington Villa. So Daisy Hill have been known to spring a surprise every now and again. But, they beat Droylsden away from home. They pushed Atherton LR all the way. Accrington Villa, I won't say they had a wobble, but it's not been plain sailing for them. They drew with Bacup Borough at the weekend, despite taking the lead inside of a minute through Dan Singleton. Daisy Hill is a bit more of a different prospect. Very good defensively, but perhaps a little light up top. So I will say Accrington Villa, but only just.
Yeah, I'll go for Accrington Villa as well.
Now, this is an enormous one, and we didn't even consider this when we were thinking about the weekend's permutations in the north. Droylsden, home to Holker Old Boys.
Yeah, I don't know, Droylsden, home advantage, big gate.
Riding on that good win against Ashton Athletic as well.
Yeah, the only thing, the difference between the two teams is the amount of goals scored by Holker and the amount of goals conceded by Droylsden. Droylsden don't concede as many as Holker, but equally Droylsden don't score as many as Holker. I'm going for a draw.
I think I'll join you in that one.
Nelson versus Atherton. Like I say, a lot depends on whether this particular player is banned. That could have a big say in the result here.
It could.
Which way are you thinking?
So for me, there are two kind of sides to this one. One is Atherton LR's defence being as strong as what it is, whereas Nelson in Max Kaine and Charlie Frost probably boast the most potent front two pairing in the entire division. Charlie Frost is the top scorer in this division. I think he's got about 33 goals in all competitions. Yeah, there it is, 34 in total. And in his strike partner there, Max Kaine, who has got, he's somewhere on here, bear with me.
Such a big long list, isn't it?
How much did you print?
Oh, about 70,000 pages.
God!
I've been printing all day,
What have you? Oh my God. Well, Max Kaine apparently isn't on this list, which is sort of really quite mental. Oh, no, there he is. He's there. He's there. So he's got 20 goals in all competitions, and Charlie Frost has got 34. So that's a combined pairing of 54 goals between them.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, 45.
I don't know which one of them is banned.
Well, neither of them.
No.
Neither of them. And this is the thing. It was their midfielder who was banned for this game, which says an awful lot about how Nelson will manage here. So for me, if any points are taken by Nelson, they'll consider themselves quite happy.
The one thing Everton can't afford to do is draw that game, because the goal difference is 10 goals.
It is, and it's quite heavily in Atherton's in Nelson's favour.
If it does come down to goal difference at the end of the season, then this is a great leveler, by the way, isn't it? Because if they win 3-0.
Yeah. What I will say though is that in Tom Romano, Atherton do have their own goal scorer, Supremo, back in contention. So Tom Romano, as their top scorer, has managed to bag 17 goals in all competitions. Ryan Talbot has scored 12, and Harvey Sample has scored about 16, 17. Yeah, he actually overtook Tom Romano, so he's got 17 goals in all competitions as well. So goals coming all over the park there for Atherton.
Well, I'm going to go for Everton. I think they'll just do enough there. I think it'll be a tight game, and because it's a tight game and they've got a better defence, I think they might. My heart says it. Well, my head says it's probably going to be a draw. My heart says a win for Everton.
That's exactly the same as what I'm thinking. If Atherton's defence can keep Max Kaine and Charlie Frost quiet, they'll do absolutely fine. Yeah, because Sample, Romano and Talbot can do an awful lot of damage to Nelson's defence, which isn't statistically as strong.
Route 1 Rovers versus McGull?
That's McGull for me.
Yeah, I'll go along with that, and that could probably sort of almost condemn. Certainly if Steeton win, then Route 1 Rovers will be officially relegated as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Scam United versus Thornton Cleveland's.
Do you want to come to that at the end of the show? Or do you want
at the end of the show?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll come to that at the end of the show.
Yeah,
we'll
now
do it out and deck here.
We will, yes. So in this particular week of footballing fixtures, there is a big sampling of non-league football on Tuesday night, the 1st of April, and we'll run through all these with you. Now, there is nothing in the Premier Division, but there is an awful lot in the north and the south. So we'll start in the south, and we'll go to Market Drayton Town versus Sandbach. That's an away win for me.
Yes, I think just about. I think Sandbach have proven themselves there at the in playoff positions, and I think Market Drayton will find it a little bit difficult.
Yeah. Runcorn Town versus Asheville.
I'll go for Runcorn again.
I think I'll go that too. Shawbury versus Olscott. I'm going to say draw. Stockport Georgians versus New Mills. Draw for me. Winsford versus Cheadle, home win.
Winsford.
Yeah. Stafford versus Abbey Holton.
Draw. Oh, right. You shocked me there.
Do you want to go to Wednesdays or not?
Which one?
Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll go to Wednesday.
Okay, that's
because they're Darwin versus Ashton Athletic.
That's Darwin for me.
I've got a feeling Main Road might be Bake-Up Borough.
I think that'll be a draw.
Right, well, I've gone for that.
And then Eccleshall versus Wolves. Eccleshall. And then Folymere versus Alsager. Draw.
Alsager.
Yeah. Which comes us to the Tuesday night fixtures in the North Division, of which there are 6. Atherton OR versus Droylsden. This is huge. Regardless of what happens in the weekend, this is Atherton's game in hand, and they could either find themselves 3 points behind Nelson again. They could be top, or they could be level on points. You just don't know. So for me, that's another must-win for Atherton, and I think they will.
I think they'll do enough.
Yeah.
Exton Villa versus Route 1 Rovers.
Home win for me.
Exton Villa. Holker Old Boys versus Garstang. That's got to be Holker Old Boys.
Yeah, that's a very northern derby, that one.
McGull versus Ashton Town.
I'm going to go away win there.
I'll go for a draw. Thornton Cleveland's versus AFC Blackpool.
Another local derby, AFC Blackpool for me.
Yeah, I'll go for that there.
Now then, that leaves us to the games that we have to play. So at the weekend, we welcome Thornton Cleveland's. And then on the Tuesday, we welcome Daisy Hill. So we're going to start off with Thornton Cleveland's and wonder how will we do. Frank?
Well, we're going to talk about permutations here, aren't we, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the permutations for us are quite simple. If we lose the game against Thornton Cleveland's, we will finish bottom of the division.
Yeah, and the thinking is we're going to finish bottom anyway. And let's sort of delve into the permutations on the basis that we are the bottom team. Now, what we do know is that in reality, in terms of we've been officially relegated in terms of the
mathematics of it.
But what we don't know is the position that the FA will take, because what some people might not be aware of is that the stadium accreditation rules are back in place this season.
They were put on hold, weren't they, last year?
Yeah, so we'll expect that this will have a major impact on promotion and relegation. As a lot of clubs at all levels of the non-league pyramid are unlikely to make the grade. Now, what we're not sure about is how the FA will handle this. But what we do expect is that it will have a knock-on effect on the non-league scene, on the non-league. What's it called? The non-league
structure.
Yeah, non-league structure. So when we say we don't know how the FA will handle it, we don't know whether they'll allow any grace to any teams. What I would say on that basis is that, I know it was a totally different league, but when we were in the Northern Premier League and we started ground sharing with Bearscough, we couldn't get the ground up to grade in time before the 31st of March to move to stay in the Northern Premier League. So I would expect the FA, bearing in mind that the stadium accreditations come back in, that they'll act as swiftly and relegate teams accordingly on ground grading. But what we're also aware is that the feeder clubs that have applied for promotion to Step 6 will either not meet ground grading, the grading, or they might not even finish in the positions in the league. So they have to finish in the top 5. As we read it now, there's 2 teams in contention to join the North West Counties Division 1 North. One of them is MBS Walton. I think they're top of their league. And then the other team is Fulwood Amateurs. But Fulwood Amateurs are just outside the top 5. Now, if they manage to finish in the top 5, then technically 2 teams will be promoted. What we don't know is, with the permutations whether there's going to be any sideways movement, whether there's going to be anybody evicted from the league. But what we are in control of a little bit is the points per game table. So in terms of where we are now, there's probably around about 18 teams that currently occupy the bottom place in 18 divisions along the Step 6. And we are, of course, one of them. Now, what we do know is last season, Nelson, who's at the top of the league, got a reprieve based on they had the best of the worst records, so they managed to survive. Other clubs that survived because one club in the south didn't fulfil its fixtures, so they were reprieved. Now, in terms of, we say the permutations, the stadium accreditation, the ground grading, we don't know how if teams are kicked out of their respective leagues, we don't know how many teams will be likely to be reprieved. What we can do is, if we were to continue and win our next 4 games, and obviously in accordance with what other results go which way at the bottom of that Step 6, we could move up that 18
team points per game table.
Yeah, points per team table. So we could technically go. We're fourth from bottom as it stands now,
with a points per game anticipation of 0.27 points per game.
That could increase to with 4 games, depending on the results. But we could be in the top 5 in that table. So in effect, is every point now is still as vital regardless of whether we're bottom of the division or not, and that's probably the best way. It's hard to explain, but
it is very difficult, but we stand more of a chance of a reprieve if we win all of our 4 games, because it will mean we've got a higher points per game average than all the rest of the teams that are in the same predicament as we have across the Step 6 structure.
I think you've explained it better than I did.
That's all right. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
so that's one aspect of it, and then the other aspect of it is lateral movements, which may well be possible in our league because of the location of some of our teams geographically.
Yeah, like we're led to believe that Route 1 Rovers are relocating to Bradford, and they want to join the Northern Counties East. I think Main Road have asked if they could be laterally moved over to to another division. Can't remember which one that would have been. Oh, so they've been asked to be moved to the south.
Have they?
Yeah, because they were getting bigger gates in the
south than they were the north. Yeah, and Steeton, I think, are much the same as well, aren't they? Didn't they apply for movement to the northwest, to the east division as well of the Northern Counties?
I'm not entirely sure on that one, but
right.
Listen,
it's a possibility.
I don't want to guess, and I don't want to put anybody in the focus and say that. I don't want to turn around in terms of ground grading and point out teams and saying that they shouldn't be passing their ground grading, because I don't know what they will or they won't do. But what we do know is they've got to have that done by 31st of March.
Which is a week from now.
But unfortunately, I can't give you an answer on how it'll turn out. We certainly can't tell you when. It's probably looking around about the 20th of May before we'll find anything out, and then it will only be ratified at the Northwest Counties AGM in June sometime. But in terms of the games that we've got, as you just mentioned there, Thornton Cleveland's and Daisy Hill, both winnable games.
Yeah, very much so. So Thornton Cleveland's currently sit 4 places above us in the league table. They've not been on the most astounding run of form recently. So their last game, they drew with McGull despite taking a lead in the first minute of the game. It was a good turnout, actually, 318. But that was non-league day, wasn't it? So there was a bit of an inflation across all fronts, really. Excuse me. So they drew with McGull, but other than that, it's been sort of relatively unspectacular from them, and we're hoping very much to kind of feed off that with home advantage.
Fair to say we competed well against Thornton at their place.
We only lost 1-0, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
And I think we had numerous changes on that particular day, didn't we? We had players that couldn't make the game in time.
We were scrambling to put a bit of a team together, to be honest, yeah. So, obviously, we've got a much more settled squad now. I think our defence and midfield roughly kind of picks itself. It's just up front where we're having difficulties, both in terms of personnel and in terms of goal-scoring exploits. 2. Now, Thornton Cleveland's, they drew their last game, as we mentioned. They won the one before that, but other than that, they encountered 3 straight losses. So they are on a bit of a topsy-turvy run themselves. So there's opportunities to be made here, particularly if we go out with the same kind of defensive structure that we went to Alfreton with.
Yeah, listen, I think we probably, out of the 2 fixtures in this coming week, we face a better chance against Thornton Cleveland's. I think we'll get all 3 points there. I think it'd probably be one of our highlight wins of the season, to be perfectly honest with you.
I certainly hope so.
Definitely putting my neck on the chopping block there.
If we can avoid conceding a goal in the first 20 minutes of the game,
Yeah,
which has been our Achilles heel for a lot of the season, is the early concessions, then I think we stand a real chance of winning that game.
I think we get into that point, aren't we? I think it was around about 21 minutes when we conceded against Everton on Saturday. So we did pretty well, and it was another 15 minutes in the second half. So we're not caving in the way we were, and obviously you think against maybe lesser opponents, and I'm not disrespecting Thornton here, but somebody down in the lower echelons of the league, you'd expect us to be a little bit more resilient and maybe have a little bit more firepower in front of them as well. So I see that as an easier win, or an easier fixture than certainly Daisy Hill is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daisy
Hill are an aggressive unit. They play full throttle and in your face kind of football, which we experienced in the 2 games that we've played them. In that last game though, which I still argue was probably one of our finest performances of the season, and one that we really should have won. Which was taken away from us. I think again, if we can stifle the kind of the provocative nature of their game, and if we can not get drawn into any kind of antagonistic behaviour, then I think if we keep a clear head, we stand a good chance of winning that game, or certainly drawing it at the very, very least. Again, if we stay with the same kind of formation and just kind of marshal them out, hit them on the counter, we've got some speed, we could do it.
Are we suggesting that there's a little bit of sort of what they call the black dark arts?
Dark arts
team. Is that what we're referring to there? Be carefully, but
a little bit. All I'm saying is that Daisy Hill play in a certain combative way, and we need to meet that with some kind of maturity.
They'll take this bit out and they'll play it before the game.
Oh, I don't think they've got any interest or appetite in anything we say.
No, they certainly haven't. We'll come to that one day when they've gone.
Wow.
Right, anyway, listen, I think that kind of...
home win for you, for Daisy Hill?
Yeah, I'm still going for a win against Daisy Hill. I think with 6 points, take us up sort of mid-table in that points per game league.
Because it really does make all the difference there. Yeah, any kind of one victory, one draw, whatever it does us the world of good there. So we could quite easily surpass 3 teams if we get even a draw at this weekend. So we just have to put in the effort every single game now, regardless of the league permutations.
Most definitely. Listen, come to the end of another fantastic show, our 20th episode, as we said at the beginning. But in reality, it's 21 shows.
It really is, yes.
But listen, I think it's been an interesting week, and obviously the other episode will go into a little bit more detail on the ground share at Marine. But for now, what have we learned?
Oh my God!
So much.
Yeah. So, what I would say I've learned is that you have to be innovative at this level to make money. You can't rely on sponsorship and deep pockets. You have to, earn the money from other sources of revenue. And revenue, I think, is the key word.
Realistic revenue.
Realistic revenue, yeah. Committed revenue, consistent revenue. I've also learned that you can be ambitious as much as you like, but putting it into practice is a far more difficult avenue to go down. And I think the last thing that I've learned is that it really is not over until the fat lady sings, and until the end of the season there is still so much to play for, regardless of where you're finishing in the table.
Me, my valuable lesson of the week is you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And an interesting one we were discussing with Rowena, my good lady wife. We talked about winning the Euro Millions. I think it was 182 million the other day. It's 202 now. but we discussed winning it and the fact that we are ground sharing next season at Marine. And we discussed transport, and if we won the 182 million, apart from the side project of building a 10,000 all-seater stadium in Skelmersdale, what we were going to do is put free coach travel on to Marine for next season for all supporters, free beer, free food, and I think even Rowena said, listen, we'll get some go-go dancers on there. I don't know whether they can do that this day. I did offer to, I said, listen, can I go on the coach? She said, no, you're driving it. I said I wouldn't be able to drive it, I'd end up crashing it. But what I'm trying to say is that we work really, really hard. We have the same dreams and ambitions as the supporters. The drive and determination never stops. But what Rowena did say at the end of it was, she said that, you know what, Frank, she said, even if we do all of that, they'll still ask the question, what's in it for him? So I've learnt a lot. I've learnt a lot that in terms of energy, I'm coming up to 58 years of age. The drive and ambition is still there. But when I look at these, these young blokes, wanting to take over football clubs, start football clubs, I think it's a young man's game. And at 24 years of age, you've certainly got the ambition and the energy to do it. Albeit you might lack in a bit of experience, but you can pick that experience up along the way if you've got a good network, and networking and having friends goes a long way in this game. So yeah, that sort of rounds it up from me. And the final words from AJ.
Before I do the exit announcement of the Speaking Frankly football show, I want to take a minute to inform you that we will be releasing a special version, a special episode of the Speaking Frankly football show very imminently after the release of the main show. This is in accordance with the recent news from Skelmersdale United that we will be relocating to the Marine Travel Arena in Crosby for the start of the 2025-26 season. This has been met with a lot of feedback, both good and bad, and we will be staging a special interview where I will be interviewing Frank to talk at length about the decision that has led us to relocate to the Marine Travel Arena. So please keep your eyes open for the release of that episode very imminently. You've been listening to the Speaking Frankly football show with me, AJ Vergette, and my co-host, Mr. Frank Hughes. We are available on all streaming services for wherever you get your podcasts, including Amazon Music and Spotify. Please feel free to rate and review us on these streaming services, as we do really appreciate your feedback. We are also available on social media sites X and Facebook under the banner term Speaking Frankly Football Show, so please give us a like or a follow on those platforms there. Please also remember to subscribe to us so that you will be the first to know when the new episode of the Speaking Frankly Football Show has been released. Until then, we will see you next week for the 22nd episode of the Speaking Frankly Football Show. Until then, bye-bye for now.